Anderson,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item is public comments. It's the time and place for comments. For any item other than those in a public hearing, if you wish to speak, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Hearing none or seeing none, moving on to item 5, consent agenda. Take a motion. Ron?
I'd like to pull number 10 and number 19, if you could.
Okay. Take a motion on the other items.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Vogel,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Sarchet.
Yes.
Motion carries. Call attention to a couple items, please, before we get on to item 10. Number 11, we just made a motion and approved the hiring of Don Sandor as interim city administrator. Don's in the audience tonight, and so you'll be seeing Don's face around here for a while, and we're looking forward to having Don on board.
Thank you.
The other item I want to call your attention to is item 17, recognizing the retirement of Tim Corey, Fire Department, after 30 plus years. I think Chief Mitchell will be commenting to this as well, but just on a personal note. Tim started a couple of years before I did, back a long time ago, and I served for over 20 years with Tim personally. Tim served under me while I was fire chief for 11 years, and I served with him for 10 years on top of that. You don't get very many people who put in 30 years of service in the world today in any career, whether it even be a volunteer type position. So I want to personally recognize Tim, and I know that there's going to be some additional information coming out on that. But Tim, as well as his family, Tim's dad, his brother, his mom, all members of the fire department at various times. So it's kind of a end of a service, if you will, after the, with the Corey family. So
Very bittersweet.
Yeah, very bittersweet. So I want to just make sure to call attention to that.
Yeah, I had a couple things that I wanted to comment on. Sorry to, maybe I should have done this before, but the comment, so having served with Tim too, it's continuity is a good thing in most cases, and having him with all the history that he did and all the calls. He estimate at least how many calls that he
We haven't even talked about it
Okay.
yet. But yeah.
I'd like to hear that number. It's 31 times a big number each year. That's a lot of time served. Appreciate all that Tim did. Want to recognize Don too. Look forward to his perspective and working with him. And then glad to see the Four Seasons Festival being on there. Being on that committee, I'm excited for that every year. We started planning. I would ask if we could make sure to give the check to Bridget and not John, just make me feel a little bit safer if we could do that. But joking aside, it is exciting to get going on that. And then I do want to just finally not acknowledge the MAC. So on item number 22, the resolution for the small wireless communications, I have no idea how that will benefit or help us, but I do know that the MAC identified the restriction that we would have as of the 15th, and so getting that on the books to be able to say we need to use this or enforce this or change whatever on this. Appreciate their some regional groups really do serve a value, and we're going to hear from another one in Bravo later on, but want to acknowledge their the impetus for putting that on there through a heads up from the MAC. So, thank you.
Item 10, consider motion to approve hiring or advertising in an effort to establish a police officer hiring eligibility.
First of all, I want an explanation of that. Is that the first step in getting a new officer on?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yep. It's a more global approach, so we have an established list of officers that we've approved as a department, and I work with Lindsay very closely on the hiring process with that. And also, we can potentially hire a part-timer into that position. We have a couple of really good part-timers, and then that list also we use to backfill a part-time position for the summer work.
Okay, well, I didn't bring either one of these items up to debate. They've been debated. I just think they both deserve to stand alone or set of expenses. I just think at this time, this crossroads the city's in right now with not knowing for sure what's going to happen with both option sales tax and different things. I don't feel comfortable making these expenses at this time.
The thing on 10, just to be clear, and we did talk about, Chief and I did talk about this prior to placing it on, there's no expense with this. This is nothing more than putting together a list. And the other thing that this gives him is a list in case he would happen to lose an officer in the next 12 months. So there's no expense with this. This is just putting together an eligibility
All right,
list.
well, that's the explanation I wanted.
There will be.
I've never
Yeah.
seen it handled this way.
Yeah.
No, and this is a more professional way to do it. So if we go after a hiring process and we just do it short term down the road, and a lot of departments hire at once, you end up losing a good candidate, and then you don't have a list to go to your next best candidate. This gives us the time ahead of time to evaluate them all, rank them appropriately, and know what we're dealing with as far as an applicant pool, and when that position comes open for hire. And there is a cost for the advertising on what that is, just to be, but that's budgeted in my budget.
Well, and the way our budget process works, if anybody remembers in the work session, I asked when we would have a chance to vote on individual things, because we don't get to. So that's the reason I brought these up.
Can I get a motion on 10? Roll call.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Vogel? Yes. Walters?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 19, consider motion to approve the purchase of the dump truck snow removal equipment to add to Public Works fleet in the amount of $88,796 plus $83,206 for the equipment package and total cost of $170,002. That purchase was budgeted in fiscal year 1920 for $180. Mike?
Yeah, when we went out for this, we found out fast that things are behind like most. I don't understand. It used to be, 4 months, and now it seems like it's 6 to 9 months to get equipment in here. But, we knew it's in the budget, and we wanted to move forward on it because we're being told that it's going to be possibly in December on the truck, and possibly it's going to be into the fall for the equipment too. We could get lucky and get the truck a little bit earlier, but it's going to be pushing it to get it here and get all the stuff installed on it, because that takes a month or so. So anyway, we're just trying to get it here approved and have some use of it next winter, if that's what we're really trying to do here.
That is my main question. At the budget session I was at, it was said this was going to come out of sewer and water. Is that
Portions of it, yes. We've done it. In the past, we allocate to road use, we allocate to water, and some to sewer, because we use in all of them. I don't think we allocate to parks. We do use it in those areas too, but we don't allocate it to that department. And I think in the past, we've also used some out of the just the general fund streets also. That's not being done at this time. So it's road use. This particular truck is road use, water, and sewer.
Well, I don't know how we use the snow plow and water and sewer, but that's just me. And what with raising water rates, I just can't in good conscience vote to spend money on a dump truck for sewer and water.
Well, the plow equipment is correct, but we still use the dump truck in those other areas for water and sewer. So that's why we use the approach of taking some out of each department.
Yeah, I get it. Like
Okay.
I said, I don't want to debate it tonight. I
All right.
want it to stand alone.
Can we get a motion on 19, please?
So move.
Second.
Roll call.
Vogel? Yes. Walters?
Yes.
Anderson?
No.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 6, new business. Under new business, action item 1, Sally Dix with Bravo. The floor is yours.
Try to outsmart your technology here. Just talk forward. Easy enough.
That's right. Bob said he'd do it if you want to outsmart me.
I feel like forward and backwards. I want to inspire confidence in
No?
your investment. So I'm
Okay.
doing my best here.
But you brought Bob. So
That's it.
I
Bob.
did bring Bob, and I do appreciate the opportunity to present. You obviously have a lot of business tonight, so I will try and be brief, but I do want to say thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about Bravo, and certainly to recognize Bob Miller. He represents the city of Polk City so well, serving on our finance committee and on our board of directors, and we'll give him the opportunity to step up and answer questions as well at the end if anything comes up. I want to be brief tonight, but do want to start with just a little bit of background in case there are some of you that are new to the council or to the community and don't know about Bravo's history. Bravo is funded almost entirely by hotel tax dollars. We were originally formed with 9 local government partners. We now have 17 communities that invest a portion of their hotel motel tax revenue in Bravo. And our primary function is to leverage those resources on behalf of the region to make stronger investments than each individual community would likely be able to do on their own. We do execute a complex funding process that ensures that the city funds are distributed in a highly transparent and accountable way without putting undue burden on the cities and the city councils. I hate to only give that one slide because it's really the most important thing that we do. So I just want to put up there that since 2006, more than 95% of the 2080 revenue that Bravo has received has been directly granted back through 896 grants to arts, culture, and heritage organizations and programs totaling more than $35 million. We've been able to do all of this with a staff of 3. So we are extremely mindful of the investment you're making in us and making sure that your goal is to get those dollars back out into the community. We do foresee some staff growth this year, but we'll remain mindful of the expected ROI, which is that we get money and give that money away. Beyond the quality of life that Bravo drives through the grant investments that we make, it's also important that you have a sense of the economic impact that these investments are having on our region. In June of 2017, we participated in a study with Americans for the Arts and 65 of the nonprofit organizations we were funding at the time, and it's clear that the arts mean business in Central Iowa. $185 million worth of annual total economic impact, 5,677 jobs supported by the sector here in Central Iowa. And then the one at the bottom I like is the government revenue generated, the tax revenue generated by the work, the salaries, the visitors, the transportation, the tax revenue generated $16.8 million. So for comparison, in that year, Bravo invested about $3.5 million in arts and culture organizations, and it generated about $185 million worth of economic benefit. I think by almost any measure, that's pretty solid return on investment. One of the things that we're spending a good deal of time talking about at the board level is how we stay relevant and how we evolve in order to remain a strong partner for the community. Grant making alone is not enough to sustain Bravo in this extremely competitive environment for public funds. So we have to demonstrate continued responsiveness to larger community objectives in order to continue to earn the funds that you invest in us. So for us, the larger community priorities are defined by the Capital Crossroads Initiative. This was done with the Great Des Moines Partnerships leadership. Hopefully you're all familiar with it. There were more than 150 initiatives that came out of that, but 8 that are considered catalyst priorities. You can see those listed here. Those are the ones that if we concentrate on as a region are going to drive us forward farthest, fastest. What Bravo then did is funded a regional cultural assessment to say, how do we fully integrate arts and culture into those priorities so that we are no longer seen as separate from advancing regional objectives, but integral to. 4 regional cultural priorities came out of that work: every day, everywhere art, more places for more people, strengthening the creative economy, making sure that our artists and creative businesses feel connected and if they have a place. Cultural tapestry, recognizing that arts and culture are a great way to bring people together and recognize the diversity we see in our communities. How can we make sure that everyone sees themselves and their culture expressed in what's available? And youth connections. We know that the more access young people have to more arts and culture at an early age, they're more likely to stay in the communities in which they were raised and have those artistic experiences and contribute to the ongoing economy. So focused on those 4 priorities, there were some clear places for Bravo to evolve. First, we've evolved our community investment programs, our grant making work. We have a strong foundation with our unrestricted operating grants and our capital campaign and project grants. Those have both been happening for many years. But with regional priorities changing, we've added a couple of new grants, which is something that we're exploring. Local arts program grants and public art grants. These are some ways we can get additional dollars out to communities that may not have arts organizations previously eligible for Bravo funding. We know that a strong region depends on strong local communities. So how can we get dollars out to where great programs are happening? We're iterating and learning through those grant-making programs all the time. Another way that Bravo is evolving is looking beyond grants. We know that there are certain things that Bravo can't affect through our grant-making structure. So we have created and articulated for the first time a strategy for our organization, which is to address issues and opportunities beyond grant making that we can help elevate the conversation and bring arts and culture to the table. The two great examples of that are the economic impact study that we funded and the regional cultural assessment that we did. No other organization would have been positioned to do that work, but we feel it adds to the cultural landscape to have that information and move the ball downfield. This is new work for Bravo. It continues to evolve. We just approved our strategic plan in September, so we're working on defining this and more clearly articulating how to life. What's next for us is we are working on some exciting projects to bring those cultural priorities in line with our grant making work. One of the things that we're doing that we're very excited about this summer is a national pilot project of the diversity in arts leadership. You know that there is a lack of people from traditionally underrepresented backgrounds in arts management. We were one of 2 new sites selected nationally by Americans for the Arts to pilot this program. We're really excited to see how it comes to life. Hope to have 7 interns from all over the country in Des Moines this summer, and we will, I'm sure, learn a ton from them. Keep saying in our office how good we're going to be at this in 2020. The next part that we're working on is working to advance the creative economy. We knew that came out of our regional cultural assessment, but knew that we needed some more information on how to get creatives more engaged in our systems. So we're working on a feasibility study and an action plan for that. And then some major changes anticipated for our community investment and community impact programs for grant cycle 2020. We've got a strong board, some strong leadership opportunities that keep posted as those evolve. That is 18 months of work in 8 slides. Does anyone have any questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
What I would like to say is obviously we appreciate our partnership and being part of Bravo as well as the other metro organizations that we are. Having only been collecting hotel motel tax since like 2014, John, ish. So it's nice that this is another area that we can contribute to be a part of. And we also appreciate Bob and all of the time that he spends. And that once or twice a year where I get to go out to lunch with Bob and we get to talk about how we can expand the arts in Polk City. Keep trying to find ways to do so, and I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of the good work that Bob does do on our behalf here. So, anyway, so thank you for being here. Anything from anybody else?
I just want to say how nice it is to be a part of this. I've been around longer than when we weren't, and we were kind of isolated out here, and now to be a part of it, I think is huge for Polk City.
Ron actually knew Mike Lynch.
At the risk of asking a sort of a quid pro quo question, and I recognize we're part of a larger metropolitan area and region and play a role in that. Do we have any, and most of your presentation was not on the grants, but do we have any grant eligible organizations in town? And I asked that last time, I think, and we did, and maybe that changed, but you know where that's at.
Yeah, and just to make a couple of comments, Polk City has received, I think, a grant in the last few years, but a couple of things that are, I want to stirring the pot, I guess you could say, and I need to talk about the mayor again, as he mentioned, but I've been working closely with Michelle King, who runs ASAP, which is the After School Arts Program, and Bravo supports ASAP, but they're interested in expanding beyond Des Moines and trying to do something in Polk City. She's going to have a booth at the festival this year. And then, of course, Big Creek Historical is a good candidate, and I haven't met them recently here, but I'd like to, again, stir the pot, make sure they're aware of funding opportunities. They have projects coming up, and of course, the Arts Council, we work with that, is kind of in flux right at the moment here, but so, yeah, we're working on some things right now, but I'm always open for suggestions. So if anybody has some arts or culture-oriented project organization that could be a good candidate, I'm more than happy to carry the water.
Yeah, I know you will. You're definition of stirring the pot is my definition of a good idea, so
Yeah,
keep it up. And that really wasn't a leading question.
No.
I recognize that we're a part of a larger group and clear about that. But I really do appreciate you looking out for some of those organizations that come to them. Like, thank you. Cool.
Another important way to look at it is the residents of Polk City benefiting from organizations that are not in Polk City. We don't get a lot of zip code information. We only have 9 of our current partners, 9 of our 65 current partners that even collect zip code information. So we have a limited amount to share. But of the 9, nearly a little bit more than 9,000 residents of Polk City participated last year in those organizations. So there's a huge benefit to the residents of Polk City of being a part of Bravo and having access to the organizations that we're supporting, even though they're not geographically located here in Polk City. So
No question.
there is good ROI, and it is a regional investment. I appreciate you asking. We track it to the degree that we can. Look forward to applications or other ways to partner. Maybe invite me to your next lunch, and I'll see if we can't cook up some good ideas.
and just one other thing, and I know Rob has attended several Bravo events the time I've been on the board, but certainly all of the council, hopefully received some invitations to special events sometimes. Would encourage you to attend.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
support.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
Can I
Appreciate
add
it.
one thing?
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
So, one of the things that we offer at the library, as many of you know, is the Adventure Pass, which allows patrons to come into the library, check out a pass for their family to go to the zoo, the Science Center, Living History Farms, Breton Skating Plaza, and the Botanical Center. And that's been very well received the last year that we've had that. And I think it's been used about 200 times or so, saving our patrons almost $10,000. And the only way that we are able to renew our Living History Farms pass for this coming year is if our community participates in Bravo. So that's another way that it's benefiting our community.
Thank you for that info.
Thanks,
That's
Megan.
good. Yep. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 2, consider motion to approve resolution 2019-25, approving plats of survey for parcel number 2019-56 and parcel 2019-57. Speaking of, John, are you speaking to that?
I can.
Good.
This is for
Sorry.
transferring, this
You're
is for
good.
transferring the title, these parcels from NAP properties to TCI properties or card path.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, transfer that to TCI.
Anything to add? No? All good? Questions, comments, motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2019-25.
Second. Roll call, please.
Walters?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Vogel? Yes.
Motion carries. Item 7, reports and particulars. I'll throw down to staff first. Mike, I know you had something to add next.
Yeah, just at the next council meeting, you will see the 2019 street repair program coming through. And you'll see a contract that we can vote on after that from Schneider to all that up. So you'll be seeing that at the next meeting.
Chief 1 or Chief 2?
I would just echo what you said about regarding Tim Corey. Thank him for his service. He 30 years, 9 months is a long time. We're lucky to get people to last 3 years in today's world. So kudos to him. And like you said, he second generation and the whole family's involved in the business. So pretty neat. I hate to see him go. He's an asset. He offers a lot of history. He offers a lot of experience that I enjoy having him share with our younger group. And so I'll encourage him publicly to come back and share those stories and not be a stranger, even though he's retiring. But we will plan to have some type of an open house for Tim. And I'll definitely make sure you guys get that invite.
Start down here first. Oh, you wait. Okay.
Wasn't that long ago I was umpiring his Little League game.
Right? Was he out a lot, or did he say
He was competitive.
he was a good
I'll
ball
say
player?
I just want to make a quick comment at the risk of sounding like posturing here, but assessments came out, and I want to acknowledge that does play a role in our budgeting process. We talked about it before, but things are topical, and so I know when you get the increase that I got, people have genuine questions about that, and what's not on the assessed increase, but is on the statement is on the back, the distribution of those funds. So I want to encourage people to look at those and look where their money goes, and the school, and county, and Broadlawns, and hopefully DART for just a little bit longer, and DMAC, and us, obviously, and what are you getting for that money that you pay, and are we living up to that? I think we have a pretty good story to tell, but it is on our diligence to stay on top of our levy rates and the assessed value, and how that increases, and be cognizant of all of that. So the timing, unfortunately, doesn't coincide. It's directly after each budget year, and then doesn't take effect for a full year. But just since it's top, acknowledge that it's always top for us. So.
Just want to say welcome to Mr. Sandor. Looking forward to working with you.
And looking forward to it also.
Yeah, just remember it's springtime. We got a lot of people walking and biking. And when you see people using the rapid reflective flashing beacons around town, make sure you yield to pedestrians that are out there. Just coming here tonight, I watched a kid get within inches of his life over on Broadway because the car just wasn't paying attention. The lights were flashing. The kid ran across. Luckily, he jumped. Just use those defensive driving skills and watch out for people now that's warming up. You got a couple things?
I have one thing.
Okay.
I'm currently preparing our second budget amendment for FY19. So I just wanted to put that on your radar because we will be setting a public hearing at the first month of May. And that is just basically just truing up all of our revenues and expenses that we've had for the past 4 or 5 months.
Perfect. Only thing I have is thank you to staff, council, everybody for the last couple months, particularly the last month and couple of weeks while we've been pulling everything together and kind of last minute conversations, phone calls, and all your extra time. And Don, I'm really looking forward to working with you. Appreciate your willingness to come be part of this for a little while. With that said, I need a motion to go into closed session under Chapter 21, discuss strategy with counsel on matters that are presently in litigation. Motion, please.
Yeah. So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Walters,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Vogel.
Motion carries. 5. I need counsel, Mike, John, Jenny, Billy, Don, and that's it. I think. Kick it off here in about 5 minutes.